have two things in particular. To get good interviews, you need to have really good communication skills. I would actually prefer to say excellent. And you need to like do really thorough research and get your facts right. Now, because interviews are conversations, I can't stress how important it is for you to have those communication skills, because you have to be able to make whoever it is you're interviewing feel comfortable enough to tell you everything you want to know or everything you want to get from them. And then with research, you have to get your facts right, because sometimes the person you're interviewing might not remember some specifics. And because you're interviewing someone doesn't necessarily mean they'll always tell you the truth. So you might find the situation where you've read up about someone and they say something else. You might have to like backtrack and be like, oh, okay, sorry, but I read here that, you said this at so time, or this was what happened. I'm like, oh, sorry, yes, and there you are. Yeah, so that is that. Now, before you, let's say, well, two things can happen. It's either maybe your editor or your boss has given you an assignment, you're supposed to interview someone. They may have set it up for you in terms of getting person's contact details, and you have a number or an email to reach out to. Or it could be you doing the scouting on your own, and you've got the details yourself. Now, if you have a phone number, I would suggest you send a text message before you call. And in that text message, just introduce yourself, your name, your full name, first name and surname, your company or publication, or I mean, even if you're a freelancer, you could just put that there, and just briefly state why you want to reach out to them. If you don't get a response, you could also add at the end of your text message that you would call them in the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes. When you do that, if you don't get a response, they don't pick up, it's always best don't keep calling. Just let it go for some time and then try again later, like really space your repeat calls, maybe in hours. Yeah, and even though most of us work virtually nowadays, and it's like there's this fluidity between regular office hours and stuff, I always usually like to do like 7:30 a.m. send a text message and call in like maybe 20 minutes to 8. They're probably on the road or in the office, but not doing anything serious. So, or you could try at this specified lunch break. I think that's 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. You could send a message then and call about 5 minutes. Now, if this isn't successful, then you might, if you have an email, send the email as well. WhatsApp for me is like a last resort, because this is me personally, I see WhatsApp as an invasion of privacy. Really, if I don't know you and you come up in my WhatsApp space, it kind of rubs me up the one way. I don't like it. So what I do then is it's like a last resort. I'm really desperate, and I send the WhatsApp, the same format with the text message. And then if I see the person has read it and I still don't get a response, and I know, okay, then I have to find someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows the person. That is always possible. There's always someone who can get to them directly. So you can try that. Now, on the other hand, if you do get through and you're able to have a conversation with the person on the phone, just state what you want from them. And then after that, I think they would now give you a direction on the next steps forward. If they want you to send more information by email, they will let you know. And then you go ahead and do that. And if they want you to come to their office or something, well, I mean, you set all that up nicely. Now, if you're going to if you're reaching out by email, if you're first meeting with the person, if you've never interviewed them before, please keep it formal or semi-formal. Good afternoon, ma'am, Mr., Ms. No hi, hello yet. I mean, this is the first meeting. Please stay away from abbreviations. Keep it strictly professional. Introduce yourself, briefly state your purpose, reason for interviewing them. And then if it's a publication, you can, what you do is maybe if you have a link to your website or your blog, you can do that. You can pick like, maybe someone in their line of work or someone popular that you've interviewed and just put the link there. Oh, I've interviewed this person, but also they kind of see, oh, okay, this is not just some random person and you're serious. So when you do that, then you wait for your response. Go straight to the point though. I mean, keep your email very brief. Most of these people don't have time, or there is someone who's reading the emails. But anyways, That is essential. State your organization. And then also let them know why you think they will be a good fit for your publication or your blog or whatever. Let them know, and in some way let them know how important it is that they give that interview, because it's going to have maybe a certain impact on the organization. Try and find out if their values, whether personal or professional, align with what you're doing. So, which is why research is very important as well, because then you know, okay, you could tap into this and kind of makes a connection already, and they'll be more likely to grant you an interview if they see that. The next, regarding research, keep stressing research. You need to go on a fact-finding mission. You need to keep reading. Read like every day, read widely. Because for some interviews, you may not even have the time to research on the spur of the moment. Maybe someone important comes in and your boss like, you know what, they're going to meet at so place. Please go ahead and meet them there. Because I've had that kind of interview before. It was just like 3 hours notice. The guys had just come into the country. They wanted to do a cover with them, go and meet them at the hotel, and I'm like, okay, who are these guys? Start, digging through and all that. So at times you might be lucky enough, you still have that amount of time. Sometimes you might not. So it's always good to read wide and go through past interviews, and you can get ideas for newer questions to ask, because you cannot avoid asking questions which are already public knowledge. It makes it boring, and person obviously is not interested, because they're like, you've not even done your work. You're asking me a question I've answered like several times. And chances, if the person is well known, obviously they would have given a lot of interviews, so you do have a lot of material to work on. And what also happens is, if you're able to get like interesting angles or unique angles to your interview, it's also a traffic magnet for you, or better sales, because you alone have that piece of information in that form, and you're going to get lots of people coming in to check your content and start using it. And then it just goes on, everybody's using you as a reference source. So yeah, that is good. So here are some important random stuff. Recording and taking notes. Now, if you're doing your interview online, which is what a lot of us have had to do, some of us had been doing that previously, please buy data plans on at least 3 different networks, and we all know why. At least one must work. If you have a subscription plan for an ISP like Fiber One, SpectraNet, or whatever, I'm not advertising anybody, make sure it's active. I think those are even quite more reliable than mobile data. Now, if you're writing a feature on someone, which is like probably a cover story or something, you preferably do like a video call, because that way you can take note of their moods, your mannerisms, their expressions, and these can add color to the story you're going to write on them. Also, when you're recording, you need to make use of your 3 forms of memory, which is your human one. You have a notepad, and then your recording devices. Now, you can rely on your human memory, like, if you're doing a video call, film the entire interview in your head, where you take note of, the abstract details, like the mood and all that, posture, ambience, and these help you create a setting for your interview and add color. And you can also use your notepad to highlight like key points that you want to use to build your interview story. And then also note follow-up questions. And it's not ideal to interrupt too often while your subject is talking. So, because you might break their train of thought. So you note down these questions and you can take them back. Like, okay, this is where you said that. And so you don't forget, and they don't also lose their train of thought. Sorry, I'm not done with that. Now, now if you have a phone with high storage capacity, you can use it to record the interview. If it's your primary phone, which you use to receive and make calls, be sure to keep it in airplane mode, so you're not distracted or interrupted by calls or messages. So there's no distraction whatsoever. Now, if you're going to have a physical interview, if you have to meet the person, some people still believe, we need to meet, and because of all the internet issues, we'd rather have face-to-face. Certain things you need to do after you've confirmed your dates, time, and venue. Let's look at how you're going to get there, plan your route, and how you're going to get there, which is update yourself, get to know what are the best routes to get to where you want to get to early enough. You can ask people who traverse that route daily or something, and find out. You can even do a trial run yourself, so you're familiar with bus stops or shortcuts and all that. You definitely don't want to get there late. It's not a good thing. Always avoid getting. It's better to get there way earlier than getting there late. And if the venue is not in an area you're not familiar with, Google Maps can help, but I always advise if you can do a test run before you go there, fine. So you're not lost in the way and you start panicking. You're not there yet. If you're going to go from your office, you might ask your colleagues, or if they're giving you an official car, make sure it's in good shape. Uh, Talk with the driver, guys plan, and make sure the car is in good condition and all that, so that nobody has stories that touch. Eat before you step out. It's very important. Your stomach shouldn't be rumbling during an interview. It could also affect your ability to concentrate and get what you need from your interview. So grab a decent meal before you set out. Do you have to spend any money for transport? Probably. So you need to budget that. Are you going to do a cab hailing service? Take note of the time. You might have to spend a little more, because if it's during rush hour or surge, where you'd possibly have to pay more than you would normally pay, you have to keep that in mind. Also, if you're going to use a cab hailing service, or just make sure that you probably book a lot earlier than you would have, and leave room for the surge charges. Understand traffic patterns in your area. Now, sometimes your interview might have to be at a restaurant. I would advise most of the time that you avoid going to restaurants for interviews, because distractions with food. I always avoid doing interviews over a meal. At best, you can do drinks, so that you're not distracted by waiter, food, smell, and all that. But if the venue is somewhere really expensive, an expensive restaurant, like I said, you're responsible for the bill because you asked for the interview. Now, if it's somewhere above your budget, if you didn't budget for food or anything like that, after the interview is done, just end it politely and immediately leave. And even if your guest orders for food, it will make it clear that you are not, dinner or lunch, whatever, was not part of the interview. They're going to settle the bill themselves, unless it's a discussion you've had before. And then if it's someone you're familiar with, you can actually politely tell them, oh, sorry, this place is rather too pricey for me. I may not be able to afford it. And they could say, oh, no problem. They would, they would foot the bill themselves. Now, do not eat anything. Even if they say they're going to foot the bill themselves, do not eat. Get up and leave. Makes it clear food is not part of what I'm paying for. Yeah. And then, after all is said and recorded, upload to the cloud immediately. I cannot stress this as much. Well, this is your virtual backup in case anything goes wrong. Now, it could be Google Drive, OneDrive, iCloud, whatever your cloud storage platform is. Backup immediately. The interview is done. Now, there are a lot of scenarios that could happen, God forbid. But I mean, God forbid, do what you need to do. Something could spill on your device and poof, your recording is gone. You could get robbed, God forbid, or anything could happen. It could drop, get broken, and that's it. So it's something you really need to do immediately after your interview. Upload it to the drive, label, store it there. You can even do it in two different places. Yeah, so that is that. And what's next? Transcribing and writing your story, of course, but that is a story for another day. And I think I'm done. Anybody have questions, additions? Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Hope I made sense.
Hi, Syreeta. Of course, you
Hi.
made. Class, you'd have seen everybody like staring at you, rapt attention. But yeah,
Okay, let me.
thank you for this session.
Yeah.
Um, actually, like me, I personally enjoyed. I've had to interview people before, and it's not fun for me because I'm not a big fan of talking over the phone, anything like that. So, I mean, this was really enlightening. Guys, please ask your questions. By the way, and my question is, what happens when the person you're interviewing is going on and on? Because you mentioned don't interrupt because it
Yeah.
sort of breaks their thought process. But there are times that people are actually just talking, and I'm like in my head, like this is not even what I asked you. Like you've wasted 20 minutes going off points. How
Yeah.
you come back and be
Mm.
brief?
Yeah. So in those cases, right? So you now have to steer the conversation. So you could just, sorry to cut you short there, and just rephrase your question or ask it again, or bring them back to the course of the story.
So we like so that means there are like situations where it's okay to sort of interrupt my.
Yes, yes, definitely. I mean, yeah, there are people who tend to just go on and on. That happens. But when that happens, obviously you're losing focus for what you came there for. So you just politely cut in and tell them, say another question that bring them back on track. Or just, rephrase the question if you haven't answered it the way you want them to, and then they go back in.
Okay, so do you think that it's advisable for people to have like different ways of asking one question for this, for example, and especially for people that are not very comfortable with being on the spot? Like,
Mm-hmm.
for I'm interviewing you, and if my questions are maybe I just about work. Do you think that I need to ask one thing in three ways, like jot down a question in two other ways, just in case this, or you don't think is a necessary?
There is no set rule. It is possible. The important thing is, are you getting what you asked for? So if you've got your answer, you could actually just put in something there that leads, if you're done, like if the interview is actually over, you could actually politely tell them, you know, sorry, but maybe you have like another interview or something to get to. It's been a pleasure and all that, and neatly wrap it up without making them feel like they've over talked. But at the same time, why I that's why I always say communication skills are important. um it it will get to a stage where the person is so comfortable with you, and it's like you're having a conversation and you're like, okay, sorry, I have to go, and they wouldn't feel offended, like, I've even talked too much. You understand? So if there should you should strive to have a very comfortable flow with whoever it is you're interviewing. And yes, it's okay to have like different versions of questions, because sometimes some people actually want to avoid asking a question. This is like for the journalist part who really need to get the hard, they ask hard questions, and the person wants to like avoid it. So you can let them go get away with it for a while. Then in the interview, you still bring it back in another way. Keep trying, bring it back another way, and well, I mean, keep pushing. If they don't, well, fine, but you still give your best shot to get them to answer. But yeah, it's okay to politely say, time's running out. I mean, they do it on TV too. There's no, you can still do it even though it's for a written interview. So yeah, it's okay to politely tell the person that, you're short of time. If there are any more things, maybe you could contact them by email or phone to get, more answers to your questions. But you can end it there if you really don't have time.
Okay, thank you, guys. Please, do you have questions? Please, let's ask. I'll just give us a few minutes to think about if we have questions, and if we don't, in the next few. So I'll just mute my.
Hi, Syreeta.
Hi, Kels.
Yes, hi. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Okay, great presentation. Right? As usual, we've picked one, two, three, four things from this conversation. Thanks to BB for steering the ship for us, right? Okay, so quickly, I'll take it from the sales angle, right? Talking
Okay.
about cutting people short when they are going off the road. Okay, so I'm in sales for yeah, I'm in sales. I've done sales for a while, and sometimes I get to speak. I get to try to speak with networking individuals, right?
Yeah.
So yes, it's always a pain trying to get these guys to give you a schedule. So
Mm,
typically from experience, for example, you get to meet with the deputy governor of Lagos, and
mm,
of course, you have an objective for that particular meeting. Now, when you have that meeting, sometimes you strike a particular chord with the person, right? And the person
mm,
goes on and off. He could be telling you about his first son or his last born, who is a footballer. Interesting conversation, but I can tell you
mm,
that can go on and on for another 20 minutes, and it does not even speak to the why you were there, right?
mm,
And trust me, once they realize it, maybe by a PA sending a message saying, "Okay, time is up." I mean, you have lost valuable 20 minutes. So the point here is when you are in such situations, of course, there should be the red flag of saying, yes, the conversation is interesting. I would love to hear about your son. However, we've not spoken to why. I'm having this meeting with you. So definitely, if you want to close out on that meeting, like Vivi and you agreed, politely, you have to just chip it in and redirect that conversation towards where you want to be. Right. So yes, it can be rude to hurt people. However, you need at some point, to redirect the ship, in a very, very, very polite manner. So I thought I should just chip that.
Thank you, Kels. Very
Yeah,
true.
thanks. Yeah, thanks, Syreeta. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
More questions?
More questions?
Hello. Hi, Syreeta.
Hi, Leah. This is your
Oh,
voice.
yeah, this is your voice.
Yes, this is my voice. Hi. Thank you for the presentation. I, for one, I'm fascinated about interviews, and I run a personal blog, and
Okay.
a couple of
Okay.
years back, I started interview. I introduced an interview series, and I do it via email. Not personal or not online. I do via email, and I send the questions to them. It's mostly patterned in the same format for everybody because it's not formal. It's more semi-formal, and so it's patterned that way. But I was wondering if you know, because I experienced a couple of setbacks with people not returning their answers on time. It takes like a month. Some would be like, "Oh, I had a couple of things to do. Oh, I forgot and everything." And it's like, I'm nagging. Like, send me your answers, yo. Is there a way to work email interviews in such a way that you're getting the best results out of it? Because I don't want people yet to go personal, like sit one on one to talk to people yet. I have not gone past my shy state, but that's my question. How can you do email interviews and get the best out of it? If there's
Okay.
something.
Okay.
Yeah. So can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Because I don't know
So
why
can
it's.
you tell because I don't know why.
Sorry?
Can you hear me clearly?
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Because I'm having this feedback in
Because
my
I'm
ear.
having this feedback in my ear.
Yeah, it's same from here as well.
Yeah, it's same from.
You said?
We're
Okay.
getting the feedback as well.
Okay.
We
Oh, okay. Because it
have
was when she was on, like my earphones were just giving me back what I was saying. Okay, yeah. So Leah, if I get you right, it's like you do email interviews and you're trying to get people to respond because they're not forthcoming, especially with time, right? You could just type your, if I got that right, you type it in the chat. Um, I'd want to ask, like, do you send reminders? What kind of reminders? How uh, you don't have any voice contact with them? That isn't actually compulsory, but what kind of reminders do you send out?
What
And
kind of reminders do you send?
okay, could you just type in the chat? Because like when you come on to speak, I get this buzzing in my ears. Is it echoing now?
no, it's not.
Okay, because it's whenever Leah speaks, that's when I get the echo. So I don't know how that is connected.
Leah
Okay,
is. Oh,
okay. Do they respond after you send the questions? Like, do they acknowledge the emails?
He's typing.
Okay. Okay, so that means that so how do you send reminders on how are your reminders phrased? Like what do you tell them? Because don't be afraid to nag. Sometimes you just have to keep pushing. They can't get tired, except they don't want to do the interview again. It's just different ways of getting them to do something they don't really want to do. There's a bit of psychology involved. You could be like, well, I understand you're very busy. I'm really sorry to bother you, but could you please send this? My deadline is blah blah blah. I have to turn this in. Different ways of kind of massaging them, but at the same time getting them to do what you want them to do. Yeah. So even in the emails,
Yeah, so even in the emails, you
Okay, Syreeta,
yeah.
have you seen his response on the?
Yeah, she no, she just said her reminders are emails. Yeah, so no, I told her, she'd have to find different ways of kind of,
Okay.
yeah, shouldn't be afraid to nag. I mean, if you just have to find different ways of saying, oh please, sorry to bother you. I need you to respond before so time. I understand you're very busy. Please, this is very important and all that. So just be polite about it, but don't be afraid to push. You just have to. They might not even think you're nagging. Hey, I mean, because you work, it's your work. You have a time to get it done. So same way they also have time to get their work done. So just let them know that you understand that they're also busy, but at the same time, you'd be very grateful. I appreciate, if they could just take the time out to respond to your questions, or if there's any other way they want to do this, maybe over a video call or something, you'd be happy to. So if they have an alternative, they would let you know, okay, fine, let's do a call or something. But don't be afraid to nag. I mean, even you have to send emails every day. I've done that before. Just have to be persistent and don't think about how they would see you. You just need to get your own stuff done. Hope helps. Okay.
Another question. Um. So after that, if none, we can round up. But if there is,
Yeah. So can
Everyone.
we? Hi, Ada.
Hi, Syreeta. Hi, great session, and I picked up
Thank
a
you.
thing or two.
Thank
My
you.
question might not really relate to this, but it's more about the interview itself.
Okay.
So, yeah, sometimes you would have to, create content where you be out of your depth
Mm-hmm.
technically, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe tech or in a field that you're not familiar with. No matter how
Yeah.
much research you do, you might
Mm.
not be able to move the conversation in direction it needs to go. So,
Mm.
is it accepted etiquette to ask whoever you're interviewing to set the pace for the interview since they're more knowledgeable?
To do what? To
To
I didn't
set
get
the
that.
pace for you, like would it be accepted practice to set the pace for the, you
Okay,
know,
so
kind
for
of
okay,
lead the interview?
now when you say lead the interview, um, can you give me a scenario of what exactly this looks like? Because I'm trying to understand. Let's say you're interviewing. Let's say you have a skill or your field is more of let's say fashion, and you're told to interview someone who's maybe a beauty expert that does this laser or like a cosmetic surgeon or something, and
Well,
maybe
yeah, I was thinking more of, people that work in tech, people that work
okay.
in where, like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the 1% fields where a lot of people don't understand the terms and they
Mm-hmm.
might be out of their depth in a normal conversation with someone like that.
Yeah.
So
So
coming as an interviewer,
mm,
you don't have a background in tech, you don't really know what you're talking about or what you're asking him. Is there a way to get him more involved in that process so that the interview comes out sounding still,
yeah, okay. So this interview now, the first question I want to ask is: you're interviewing him for the publication you're interviewing him for, wherever his interview is going to be. Is it a tech magazine or is it just like a column in maybe a general lifestyle magazine or something? Without that,
let's say
or
a tech
is
magazine. Yeah,
sorry?
let's say a tech magazine.
Okay, so basically he's just taking a column of that magazine. Now, in that scenario, I would say you need to actually outline what you want to get out of the interview. Why are you interviewing him? And why what do you want your readers to know? And that should guide the kind of questions you're going to ask him. So you don't necessarily have to have. In fact, the reason why you're even interviewing him is to actually get all those pieces of information to your readers who may not be techie. So it's okay for you not to be as knowledgeable. Obviously, you can't be as knowledgeable as he is, and that can come through. But your questions you need to define what you want to get out of the interview. That is actually the main thing. Once you know what you want to get out of it, the questions should actually be easy for you to come up with. And then once you have that, just ask him as plainly as you can, and he will respond to you in his own jargon. Or you could actually even interject and be like, okay, most of our audience is not tech savvy, so if you could break it down. But I mean, if you're working for a tech company, well, that's a different thing entirely. I guess they would assume you would have some level of technical knowledge, to be able to have those interviews. And yes, you can still do research. I mean, I don't think, yes, you would get more information from him, but your research will still help you. I hope that helps. Does that make
It-
sense?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. And I wanted to ask a question.
Hi, Anino. You wanted to ask a question? Yeah, Anino. Mm,
She's there, but oh, yeah, muted, oh, so unmute yourself.
let me check.
Okay.
Hi, Anino. Uh, not sure what's going on. But can every other person hear me? Let me be sure that it's not from my
Yeah,
end.
we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Okay, seems Anna has gone AWOL. Um,
Maybe she can ask on the group later
yeah, yeah, okay,
and
fine. That'll be fine.
so thank you, Syreeta. Thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah,
This was great. Okay, Anino is here. She's speaking, but I can't hear.
yeah,
Hi, Anino. Can you hear us?
yeah. We can't hear you. Something's wrong somewhere.
Okay. Anino, type your question in chat, and I'll read it out because we can't hear you.
Hey everyone. Hi Steve. Can I shoot my question
Uh,
from the heat now?
yes, yes, yes. Oh no, we can hear you now. So speak on.
Can I ask my question now?
Yes, yes, yes. You may go ahead. Listening. We're
Okay, there's a bit of a communication gap. I think because
Okay, so for those who are media people, here's the take. My first year of working in print, there was this question that kept popping up for every interview. And it goes, the first question that you basically come across when you're reading an interview on the thing would be, can we get to know you, or something to that extent. um I think over the years I got to realize it was getting overflogged. Should there not be a better way of getting biographies like that? If you're going to get an introduction on somebody, should there not be a better way of getting those details instead of that being your opening line, that instead of making that your open question?
Man, that can we get to know you always. Ah,
See, over
think
to you.
it's an itch. I don't like it. I it I don't actually don't think it's actually a proper way to start an introduction. I think what you want to ask is you could say something like, could you tell us about your personal background? Get specific.
Hello.
And you can't hear. Can you hear me? Okay, there is a communication problem. Mm.
Syreeta, can you maybe type your answer?
I'll type it out. Type it out. Okay. So, anyone else in the absence of any more questions?
Okay, I don't think there's anyone else. But Syreeta is going to type the answer in the group because there's communication gap. But then, thank you guys for joining. Thank you for being so, you know, great and awesome. Both those that are quiet and those that talked. Of course, you can always ask questions on the group. Syreeta answer. She has also sent in the presentation, so you can go through and again, if questions arise after you read it, do well to ask. So that's it.
Wait,
Thanks.
sorry, Bibi, is that record? Is recorded, right? As in, like, people can.
But it went off a while and it has been going on and off. But I will check for
Ooh, okay.
off
All
when
right.
you it went off when the question started. I think my internet,
Oh, oh,
but then
okay,
and see what's how well it recorded, and I'll share that as well.
okay. All right. Thanks. Thank you,
Oh,
everyone. It's a great
Bye.
time.
All right, thanks, Syreeta. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.